most frightening thing about Jonathan's nightmare is that he may not be dreaming. Inmates is a psychological horror game with puzzle elements in which you must find the truth behind your confinement and uncover the dark secrets of the rundown prison you have found yourself in. You've awoken from a nightmare, Jonathan, but did it truly end? You're in a seated prison cell and have no clue how you got there. You're terrified and confused, but you also feel something else, a painful sense of familiarity. You convince yourself that this is all just a bad dream. Unfortunately, according to the voice coming from the old radio, things are not as simple as you like them to be. And welcome to the TacosandGeeks.com reviews of Inmates. And that was just the overview synopsis of the game. So, what is Inmates? Well, Inmates is a psychological horror game, which some gamers will now call it the walk-in simulator horror type of games. You know, PT really started something. But for the most part, for a one-man developer team, this is actually pretty good. First of all, want to talk about the setting and the tone of the game. I love the fact that this thing is taking place inside a prison. We don't have that much prison horror games, or heck, we don't even have that much prison games in general, or rundown abandonment buildings such as this. So I felt that this was a really good setting, especially for Jonathan, and it does have the typical little bit of cliche, I don't know what I'm doing, or I can't remember why I'm here, I gotta find my memory and everything else. Yes, the typical tropes that you see in certain psychological games and psychological thrillers, but for the most part, it really does work. And you know, as I was playing the game, I got more wrapped up into the character's backstory, just searching every single cell, every single piece of information I could find to try to figure out how did he get here, why. And I would say that, you know, as the story unravels, the payoff is really good. Let's talk a little bit about the visuals here. So first of all, if you see, I just want to point out, if you see a little bit of lag, it is not the game, that's my crappy ass laptop, okay? So graphic wise, I thought, you know, aesthetically, it works very well. Especially just that use of tone, the use of lighting that, you know, really conveyed this creepy atmosphere of this abandoned prison. I thought it was really good as well. I do like some of the jump scares that happen. Some of them kind of didn't make sense to me, but for the most part, the scares are not that scary. It's more of a psychological aspect of a scare, something that you're playing and you're starting to think, okay, man, it must be all in Jonathan's head. Like, man, he's seeing things. Is this guy for real, or is this actually happening? So it has kind of that Shutter Island type of feel to it. I did like certain aspects of the game. Let me talk a little bit about the gameplay. So basically, since this is kind of like a walking simulator, you have puzzles. So puzzles are going to be a big part of the game, and for the most part, the puzzles are ranging from normal to easy to a little bit, some of them are a little bit hard, and some of them actually do take a little bit of thinking, which I do appreciate, especially this one when it comes to knobs and, you know, twisting, figuring out these numbers. I thought that was pretty cool as well. But overall, you guys, I would say Inmates it's a pretty good experience. I enjoyed it. It's a price of $10, so I'll say it's pretty bargain for what this game is offering, especially since it was built by a one-man team. I did like the use of the graphics. I like the use of lighting, the sound. Voice acting was a hit or miss for me depending on certain characters. I thought Jonathan did a good job. Some of the side characters were like, it's going to sound a little bit wooden. But, you know, it didn't take me out of the experience. And one thing I did find a little bit creepy was this kind of elements of just all these religious, you know, things around. You just keep exploring the prison. All you see is crosses, and just so much symbolism here. And you're starting to wonder, you're like, am I really in a prison? Or is this a place where they're, like, maybe a overzealous religious cult, like, that probably misinterpret religion and just kind of just did this, has controlled this prison and just like experimenting on things. So, you know, that I thought that aspect was pretty cool as well. But I had fun playing this, truthfully. I did like the use of sound. I think the sound, especially when it comes to the music, was really good. And I was always saying in my reviews, music is very, very important when it comes to gaming for me, because, you know, music, especially when it comes to horror, music can actually make it or break it or take it away. And you don't want your music to be taking away from the actual. You want the music to enhance. And I think the music in this actually does enhance it. I think it does the little jump scare sounds at the right time with the right beats. There was like one time I actually jumped after reading a letter, and then you see an image of his wife just pop in the head. I thought that worked very well. But overall, you guys, I'm gonna give Inmates a B-. It's pretty cool. I like the setting. I like the story. I like the fact that I just had to keep figuring out, and there was some twists and turns, some little plot twists in there. It was pretty decent. I like it. For $10 on Steam, you can't really go wrong with it. So if you're a horror fan, you might want to check it out. But it does take only 3 to 4 hours to beat. So if that factors into it, it is a little bit short. So if you don't want to spend $10 for 3 hours, $10 for 3 hours or 4 hours, that might affect your purchase. But it's pretty cool. Check it out. This is Justin from otakusandgeeks.com saying later days. Catch you on the next one. Peace.